The stars were quiet that night, stretching endlessly across the black canvas of space. Yet, deep in the void, a disturbance stirred. The Imperial fleet had left its core worlds, a river of gleaming ships moving in perfect formation. Hundreds of vessels, each bristling with weapons, glided silently toward the edge of human space. The Empire, proud and confident, had never known defeat. They believed no one, no alien race, no human could stop them. Admiral Kalen, the commander of the fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion. His eyes scanned the holographic map of the galaxy, noting the uncharted sectors that lay before them. All sensors active. I want full scans of this sector, he ordered. His voice was calm, almost bored, but there was a sharp edge beneath it. The Empire did not tolerate uncertainty. A young officer hesitated before speaking. Admiral, there are reports. Other civilizations warned us not to enter human space. Kalen's lips curved into a cold smile. Warnings? We do not heed warnings. Humans are primitive. Their technology is weak compared to ours. If anyone dares challenge the Empire, they will be crushed. On the other side of the sector, far from the Empire's imposing fleet, human scouts were watching. A small reconnaissance vessel drifted silently near a nearby asteroid field. Captain Lyra Dune, her dark hair tied in a tight braid, stared at the blinking screens. They're moving fast, she muttered. Her crew was tense but disciplined. Humans had always been the underdogs in the galaxy, but underdogs had a way of surprising everyone. Her second-in-command, Yarrick, frowned. They're heading straight for us. That many ships, it's impossible to stop them. Lyra shook her head. Stop them? No. Survive them? Yes. And maybe, just maybe, make them regret coming here. Her eyes gleamed. Humans were clever, and cleverness often mattered more than size or strength. Back on the Dominion, Kalen's fleet had reached the first human border outpost. The station was small, unarmed by Imperial standards, and located on a lonely rock in the void. Kalen leaned forward, his hands gripping the console. Open hailing frequencies. Let them know the Empire has arrived. They will kneel. The human operator, a young man named Corin, answered automatically. This is the Terran border station. You are entering restricted space. Identify yourself. Kalen's response was cold and condescending. I am Admiral Kalen of the Imperial Fleet. You are commanded to surrender immediately. Resistance will be meaningless. The humans on the station exchanged worried glances, but their fear did not turn into panic. Instead, they calmly began preparations. They knew surrender was never an option. The Empire had never met a human who truly gave up. Lyra's voice came over the communicator. All personnel, brace for the unknown. Follow Protocol Alpha. We've prepared for this. At that exact moment, something strange happened. One of the Empire's ships, a massive battlecruiser, flickered violently. The system stuttered, then went dark. Alarms blared across the bridge. What is happening? Kalen barked. Status report. It's impossible, one officer said, panic creeping into his voice. Our shields, engines, everything is down. It's like someone is controlling it from outside. Kalen slammed his fist on the console. Impossible. No one can hack Imperial technology. Lyra, from her hidden scout vessel, watched quietly. Her team had only deployed a small, experimental signal, a clever device humans had designed decades ago. Nothing the Empire could recognize. And yet it worked. One ship down, and the Empire's confidence was shaken, just a little. Kalen gritted his teeth. Send reinforcements. Find the source. Destroy it. The Empire launched probes and scanners, but the human signal slipped past every detection method. The fleet moved closer, but the humans vanished into the shadows of asteroid fields, using every trick they knew. Small, agile ships darted in and out, planting mines and decoys. The Empire had power, but humans had cunning. Meanwhile, in the fleet, whispers began to spread. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. This shouldn't be possible, some muttered. The Empire had conquered countless worlds, yet humans seemed different. They adapted. They survived. They resisted. On the human side, Lyra gave one final order. Prepare the strike. A sudden flare of energy erupted in the distance. One of the Empire's massive cruisers spun out of control, its hull torn open by an invisible force. Smaller ships scattered, trying to evade the unseen attack. Kalen's face turned red with fury. They dare attack us? Bring everything down on them. No mercy. Lyra's team moved with precision. They didn't have the firepower to destroy the fleet, but they had strategy. Mines detonated at key points. Sensor jammers confused enemy targeting systems. The humans didn't just fight. They set traps, manipulated the battlefield, and forced the Empire to make mistakes. In the bridge of the Dominion, Kalen's calm demeanor began to crack. How are they doing this? This is human space. There should be nothing here but empty stars. Yarrick, standing near Lyra, smiled faintly. Humans thrive in the empty stars. That's why no one should underestimate them. Kalen's fleet regrouped, but their movements were cautious now. For the first time, they felt uncertainty, a rare emotion for a civilization that had always been certain of victory. Lyra looked at the starfield beyond. Somewhere out there, the Empire had more ships. But humans didn't need to destroy the entire fleet today. They only needed to show strength, show intelligence, and survive. The Empire had come boldly into human space, believing it was their right to dominate. But humans were not like the other races the Empire had conquered. They were unpredictable. They were dangerous. And the galaxy had already whispered warnings, ignored by the arrogant. As the human scouts faded into the darkness, one thing was clear. The Empire had made its first mistake, and mistakes in human space were deadly. And so, the first clash began, not with a thunderous explosion, but with a quiet, cunning strike that left the Empire stunned. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what humans would do next. Somewhere far above, in the core of human space, the elders watched the sensors and whispered among themselves. "They have entered human space," one said softly. "They do not understand what they face. Soon they will learn." Lyra's eyes reflected the faint light of distant stars. "Let them come," she said. "We'll be ready." And in that silent void, where the galaxy had warned the Empire but they had refused to listen, the first threads of an epic battle were woven, threads of courage, cunning, and the unpredictable force of humanity itself. The Empire had arrived, confident and proud. But human space was not theirs to conquer. Not yet. And that was the beginning of a story the galaxy would never forget. The Empire was shaken, but not defeated. Their fleet drifted near the edge of human space, wounded but still imposing. Admiral Kalen could not believe what had happened. One of his ships destroyed, systems failing on another, and it was all caused by a few human scouts. He slammed his fist on the console, his anger boiling. How can a primitive race do this? Find them, destroy them. But humans were not easy to find. They were ghosts in the void. Captain Lyra Dune and her small team had vanished after the first strike, leaving the Empire confused and vulnerable. Humans did not fight like the other civilizations. They did not rely on sheer firepower. They relied on cunning, on thinking ahead, on turning the enemy's strength against them. Lyra stood on the bridge of her ship, the Hawkeye, watching the massive shadow of the Empire's fleet on her sensors. Her crew was tense but disciplined. "They'll come at us hard," she said quietly. "We have to be ready. Every move counts. Every choice, life or death." Her second-in-command, Yarrick, leaned over the console. "They outnumber us 100-1. How can we survive?" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We survive because we're unpredictable, because we think like they don't, and because humans never give up." The Empire, meanwhile, prepared for their first strike. Kalen had ordered a bombardment of the human border station they had encountered before. They wanted to show humans the might of the Empire, to crush them before the humans could organize a proper defense. The bombardment began with a deafening roar. Energy beams lanced through the void, striking the station. Explosions shook the small outpost, sending debris tumbling through space. Inside, humans worked tirelessly to maintain shields and countermeasures. Engineers and soldiers moved quickly, improvising repairs, redirecting power, and activating hidden defenses. One young engineer, Mara, wiped sweat from her brow as she adjusted a shield relay. "Come on. Hold for just a little longer," she muttered. A beam struck nearby, shaking the floor. "We can't let them destroy this station. Not yet." And the humans did more than survive. They struck back. Using small, hidden drones and magnetic mines, they disabled 2 of the Empire's smaller cruisers. The massive fleet had firepower, but humans used clever traps and terrain to their advantage. The Empire's arrogance blinded them to strategy. They attacked like they always had, with overwhelming force expecting victory. Kalen watched in disbelief. Impossible! How can these humans fight back like this? Their weapons are primitive. "They're thinking, sir," one officer said quietly. "They are thinking faster than we are." The Empire's ships moved closer, trying to crush the station with raw power, but humans anticipated every step. The moment a cruiser fired, a trap detonated, sending it spinning helplessly into a nearby asteroid. The Empire had never faced an enemy who could manipulate the battlefield so perfectly. Lyra's voice echoed over the comms. "All units, fall back and regroup. We're not trying to win today, we're trying to survive, and to make them feel human space is not a place to conquer." The humans moved with precision, leaving false signals and decoys. When the Empire targeted one ship, another would appear, confusing sensors and wasting energy. The human strike team was small, but every action was carefully calculated. Even with their power, the Empire was losing control. Communication lines broke under electronic interference, cruisers collided in the chaos, and smaller ships were lost to cunning traps. The humans had no need for raw strength. They only needed to outsmart the Empire. Back on the Dominion, Kalen slammed his console. "Send reinforcements. Activate the fleet-wide targeting grid. No human escapes today." But the humans had already vanished. Lyra's team slipped into a dense asteroid field, weaving through rocks and debris that would crush larger ships. The Empire pursued blindly, firing blindly, wasting their resources. In the darkness, Lyra whispered to her crew, "Every battle is a lesson. Today, they learn humans are not easy prey." Meanwhile, in the Empire's command center, Kalen convened his council. "We cannot underestimate them," he said. His usual confidence faltered slightly. "They are clever, too clever. Find out who leads them. Destroy the leaders, and the rest will fall." One officer, younger and braver than most, shook his head. "Sir, they are not a typical civilization. Their strength is not in leaders alone. Humans fight as one. Even without orders, they adapt, improvise, and resist." Kalen's face darkened. "Then we must adapt faster. Nothing will stop the Empire. Nothing." Humans, however, were always one step ahead. Lyra and her team had learned much from observing the Empire's tactics. They had seen how the fleet moved, where it was weak, and how predictable it could be when blinded by pride. Using this knowledge, humans laid another trap. A false supply convoy drifted into the Empire's path. Sensors detected it immediately. Kalen ordered a capture operation, expecting an easy victory. But the convoy was a decoy. Hidden mines detonated around the fleet, damaging 2 more cruisers. Confused and enraged, the Empire struggled to regroup. Lyra watched the chaos unfold, her heart pounding but her mind sharp. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We can survive, and we can teach them a lesson." In the darkness of space, the human tactics were simple yet deadly. Outsmart, outmaneuver, survive. Every move by the Empire was countered by clever strategy. Every attack they launched cost more than it achieved. By the end of the day, the human border station remained standing. The Empire had suffered losses, and their confidence was shaken. Kalen's voice was strained when he spoke to his officers. This is unexpected. Humans, they are not weak. We have underestimated them." Lyra, in her hidden ship, sent a message to the scattered human forces. Hold your positions. They will come again. But they will learn one truth today: humans do not give up. And humans never surrender. The galaxy had whispered warnings to the Empire. Never enter human space. Yet, here they were, facing a race that fought with courage, ingenuity, and a will that no fleet could crush. Humans had struck first, not with overwhelming power, but with precision and intelligence. And though the battle was not yet over, one thing was clear. The Empire had met a foe unlike any they had ever known. As the stars stretched quietly beyond the battlefield, Lyra looked at the damaged but still standing station. "They will remember today," she said softly. "They will remember what humans can do when cornered. And next time we will be ready." The first strike had ended. Humans had survived. Humans had fought back. And the Empire had learned a painful truth. Invading human space was not a simple victory. It was a dangerous gamble. The stage was set for the next clash. A larger battle that would test the limits of strategy, courage, and the unpredictable force of humanity. And so, the humans waited, patient and unyielding, ready for the Empire's next move. The war had only just begun. The Empire was quiet now, but it was the kind of quiet that hides danger. Admiral Kalen sat in his command chair on the Dominion, his hands clenched into fists. Every officer around him felt the tension. Their fleet had faced humans before, but every encounter left them bewildered. The humans were not like the other civilizations the Empire had conquered. They were different. Kalen's voice was low but firm. "We cannot continue like this. Our ships are damaged, our plans failing. Find the source of these humans' tactics. I want their leaders. I want their secrets. We will crush them." A young officer hesitated. "Sir, they may not have a single leader. Humans, they operate as one. Even without orders, they adapt, they fight, they survive." Kalen slammed the table. "Then we adapt faster. Nothing will stop the Empire. Nothing." Far from the Empire's imposing fleet, in the shadowed corners of human space, Captain Lyra Dune studied the sensors on her ship. She had seen the Empire's frustration firsthand. They were powerful, yes, but the humans had something the Empire did not: creativity, ingenuity, and the willingness to die for survival. "Yarrick," Lyra said quietly, "they are coming back. We have to be ready. But we can't just fight. We need a plan. Something they will never see coming." Yarrick nodded. "We have options. The humans have always relied on one thing: the unknown. Let's make the unknown our weapon." Humans were preparing for more than survival. They were preparing to teach the Empire a lesson it would never forget. Hidden in a nearby asteroid belt, they gathered intelligence. Old relics of human technology lay buried beneath layers of rock and ice. Relics from a war long ago, from a time when humans had to defend themselves against even greater odds. Lyra's eyes lit up as she studied the ancient blueprints of a weapon long thought lost. "This is it," she whispered. "The Empire thinks they face a primitive species, but they are wrong. We have something they cannot match. Something no ship, no fleet, can counter directly." Her crew leaned closer, curiosity mixed with excitement. "What is it?" one of them asked. "A secret," Lyra said. "A human secret, and when the time comes, we will use it to show the Empire why human space is untouchable." Meanwhile, the Empire scouts reported strange anomalies. Their ships detected signals they could not understand, ships moving where they should not, and devices that disrupted their technology. Panic began to creep into the fleet. Kalen clenched his jaw. Humans were clever, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. A senior officer approached him. "Sir, we may have underestimated them. Their tactics, they are advanced. Too advanced for a civilization we thought primitive." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Then we learn. Find their base. Capture their leaders. Leave no human alive who can threaten the Empire." Lyra, from her hidden ship, monitored the Imperial movements. She knew the Empire would strike again, stronger this time. But humans did not just wait, they prepared. The asteroid belt became a maze of traps, sensor jammers, and hidden mines. The humans moved like shadows, invisible to the fleet's sensors. Every misstep by the Empire was anticipated and turned against them. But it was more than just survival. Humans had a plan that went beyond the battlefield. They would not just fight, they would create a legend, something that would echo across the galaxy and warn all others who might dare challenge them. In a hidden human facility, Lyra activated a device that hummed with ancient power. Energy readings surged across the room. This device had been developed centuries ago, a testament to human ingenuity, and it could not be matched by the Empire's technology. One of her engineers, Mara, glanced nervously at the controls. "Are we sure this will work?" Lyra nodded. "It has to. The Empire believes power alone conquers worlds. They do not understand humans. They never will." The Empire, on the other hand, was growing desperate. Kalen issued new orders. Probe every sector, scan every asteroid, use every weapon at their disposal. Yet, the humans continued to elude them. Every time the fleet thought they had located a human vessel, it vanished. Every time they believed they understood the tactics, humans adapted instantly. Kalen felt the first cracks in his confidence. He had faced many civilizations, many rebellions, many planets that resisted. But humans were something else. He could see it in their unpredictability, their courage, their unity. They were not just fighting, they were surviving in a way that no empire could anticipate. Back in the asteroid belt, Lyra and Yarrick discussed the next move. "We need to lure them deeper," Lyra said, "into the part of space where our traps work best, where we have the advantage." Yarrick frowned. "But won't that be risky? They might destroy our defenses before we can use them." Lyra smiled faintly. "That is why we are humans. We turn risk into opportunity. They think they control the battlefield, but we control the battle itself." And so, humans prepared for the Empire's next strike. Small, agile ships moved silently among the asteroids, laying traps and false signals. The ancient device hummed quietly in the hidden facility, a silent promise of power no enemy could ignore. The Empire launched a probing attack, testing the human strength. Lasers flashed across space, striking asteroids and mines. But the humans anticipated every move. The Empire's ships were caught in hidden energy nets, their sensors jammed, their engines disrupted. The first probe was destroyed before it could report back. Kalen's face turned red with anger. "They are clever, yes, but they cannot hold forever. Prepare the main fleet. We strike at dawn. They will not survive the next attack." Lyra watched the sensors carefully. "They think they have the advantage," she whispered. "But they do not. They cannot see the truth. They do not know the human secret." In the quiet of space, hidden among asteroids and debris, humans prepared their counterattack. Not with numbers, not with raw firepower, but with ingenuity, patience, and a weapon born from centuries of survival. The galaxy had warned the Empire to stay away. Humans were not to be underestimated. And now, the first hints of the human secret would soon reveal why. The stage was set. The Empire believed it was hunting humans. In truth, humans were hunting the Empire's arrogance, ready to strike back with cunning, precision, and the unyielding force of a species that refused to be conquered. The next battle would not just test power. It would test strategy, intelligence, and the very nature of survival. And humans had the advantage no one could see coming. The darkness of space was not empty. It was alive with the hum of the Imperial fleet, searching for humans hidden in the shadows. Admiral Kalen's patience was wearing thin. Every probe, every scan, every strike led to failure. His fleet, though massive, had been slowed and confused by a race they had thought primitive. Kalen leaned over the holomap, frustration in every line of his face. "They are hiding. Every move we make, they are one step ahead. Find them. I want their positions." "Sir," an officer hesitated. "They may not be in one place. Our sensors, they're everywhere and nowhere. It's as if they know what we will do before we do it." Kalen slammed his fist. "Impossible. Humans are primitive. They cannot predict a fleet this large." Far from the Dominion, hidden among the jagged edges of an asteroid belt, Captain Lyra Dune watched the Empire's movements with careful eyes. She could see the arrogance radiating from the enemy fleet. They believed power alone would win the day. Humans knew better. "Yarrick," Lyra said softly. "They're moving into our zone. That means our traps will work." Jarrek's lips curved into a small smile. "Time to show them what humans can do in the shadows." Lyra nodded. "All units, prepare for ambush. Use stealth protocols. Engage only on my signal. Remember speed, cunning, precision. The Empire cannot see us, but we can see everything." As the Empire's fleet entered the asteroid field, the humans struck. Small ships darted between rocks, invisible against the dark background of space. They released drones that disrupted Imperial sensors, creating false readings of empty space. Mines hidden behind asteroids detonated in sequence, disabling smaller cruisers before they could fire. The first volley of the attack was sudden and precise. Imperial ships were caught in crossfire from invisible angles. Explosions lit the void, but they were only a warning. Humans were not here to destroy everything. They were here to teach a lesson. Kalen watched helplessly. "Report, sir. Our ships are being damaged. Their attacks. They are precise, too precise. It's as if they know our moves before we make them." Kalen gritted his teeth. "Then adapt faster. Strike harder. Crush them before they vanish again." But the humans were always one step ahead. Lyra's team used the shadows of the asteroid belt to confuse and divide the Imperial fleet. When one cruiser tried to flank, hidden energy nets stopped it in its tracks. When a group of destroyers aimed lasers at a human ship, decoy drones tricked the weapons into firing on empty space. Humans fought not with overwhelming power, but with intelligence and precision. Every action the Empire took was countered. Every strategy met with a clever trap. The larger ships were slow, cumbersome, and easily manipulated in the maze of rocks and hidden mines. "Look at them," Lyra whispered to Yarrick. "They have power, yes, but they do not have control. They cannot see what we see. They cannot adapt like we do." Yarrick nodded. "They will learn, but it will be costly for them." One of the Empire's warships tried to ram a hidden human base. A mine detonated just as it approached, sending the massive vessel spinning into a field of jagged asteroids. Its hull was torn, and alarms screamed across the fleet. Kalen's rage was visible even from the holomap. "Destroy the base. Leave no survivors." Lyra's fingers danced over the controls. "Evacuate non-essential personnel. Activate countermeasures. Let them come, we are ready." The humans had set the perfect trap. The Empire's arrogance drove them straight into a gauntlet of mines, drones, and energy nets. Each attack was designed not to kill immediately, but to disorient, confuse, and demoralize. The human fighters struck and vanished, leaving the Imperial ships frustrated and blind. In the heart of the asteroid belt, Lyra sent a signal to the outer human units. Phase 2. Now. Suddenly, hidden energy cannons fired from concealed positions on asteroids. The beams cut across the void with deadly precision, hitting cruisers that thought themselves safe. Imperial ships scrambled to defend, but the humans controlled the battlefield, invisible yet everywhere. Kalen's voice thundered across the fleet. "Formation Sigma. Surround them. Fire everything." But the humans had anticipated this too. Every Imperial maneuver played into the humans' hands. Ships were led into traps, forced to collide with each other, or disabled by electromagnetic nets. The Empire had power, but humans had cunning, and in the shadows, cunning was lethal. One small human fighter darted between cruisers, planting a small device on the hull of a massive warship. The device emitted a pulse that disrupted the ship's main systems. Engines faltered, shields flickered, and the cruiser drifted helplessly into an asteroid. Lyra's voice was calm over the comms. "Stay focused. Every ship we save, every move we make, teaches them a lesson. Humans survive against all odds." Kalen could not understand it. How could a few small ships cause so much damage? He had fought many battles, conquered countless worlds, but humans were unpredictable. They adapted, improvised, and survived in ways no Empire fleet had ever imagined. Amid the chaos, human teams moved to retrieve damaged ships and personnel. They were careful, precise, and quick. No unnecessary risk, no reckless attacks. Every move had a purpose, every decision was calculated. By the end of the battle, the Empire had suffered significant losses. Ships were destroyed, crews were lost, and confidence had been shaken. The Imperial fleet regrouped, battered and confused. Kalen's face was pale with fury. They fight like shadows, like ghosts. But shadows cannot last forever. We will find them, and when we do, they will pay. Lyra's team watched from the shadows of the asteroid belt. Their mission was not complete, but victory had been claimed in spirit. They had shown the Empire that humans were not easy prey. They had survived, adapted, and turned the Empire's strength against itself. Lyra looked at the damaged but still functioning human fighters. "They will come again," she said softly. "But we are ready, always ready." The battle had ended, but the war in human space was far from over. Humans had survived using intelligence, teamwork, and cunning. They had turned darkness into their ally and made the Empire pay for every misstep. And somewhere, deep within the Empire's fleet, Kalen was already planning the next strike. One that would be larger, more devastating. But he underestimated one thing: humans never fought on predictable terms. In the shadows, humans were strongest. In the shadows, humans were untouchable. The galaxy had warned the Empire. Humans were not to be trifled with. And the lesson was beginning to sink in, slowly, painfully, and irrevocably. The shadows had spoken. And in human space, the Empire had learned that the first battle was never the last, and humans always fought with the advantage of cunning. The next clash would test every skill, every weapon, and every ounce of bravery. And humans would be ready. The Empire was wounded, frustrated, and furious. Admiral Kalen stood on the bridge of the Dominion, staring at the hollow map of human space. His fleet had suffered more losses than he cared to admit. Ships lay damaged, crews exhausted, and yet, humans were still out there. Unseen, unpredictable, and deadly. Kalen slammed his fist on the console. "Enough! We will strike one final time. All forces, full assault. This will be the end of these humans." His officers exchanged uneasy glances. The humans were not ordinary enemies. Every encounter left them confused and humiliated. "Sir," a young officer said cautiously, "the humans adapt faster than we can anticipate. This may not go as planned." Kalen's eyes blazed with anger. "Then we plan harder. They cannot survive a full fleet assault. They will not survive." Far from the Empire's fleet, Captain Lyra Dune studied the sensors aboard the Hawkeye. She could feel the tension in the void. The Empire was planning something massive, something meant to destroy everything in its path. But humans had prepared. They were not simply waiting for the attack. They were ready to turn the battlefield to their advantage. "Yarrick," Lyra said, her eyes narrowing. "They think they control the fight. Let's show them they're wrong. Initiate phase 1 of the counter-strategy." Yarrick nodded. All units in position, ready to deploy. Humans had learned from the previous battles. They had studied the Empire's movements, tactics, and arrogance. They knew that sheer firepower would not stop humans, but humans could manipulate the battlefield. Every asteroid, every shadow, every hidden device became part of their plan. The Empire's fleet moved toward the central system of human space, expecting minimal resistance. They believed that overwhelming numbers would crush any hidden defenses. But the humans had prepared a trap unlike any the Empire had seen before. From hidden positions, human ships fired synchronized energy pulses that disrupted the fleet's targeting systems. Sensors went haywire, ships collided, and chaos erupted. Mines hidden in asteroid belts detonated in precise sequences, cutting off escape routes and damaging vital systems. Kalen watched in disbelief. How can such small ships cause so much destruction? "They think faster than us," an officer admitted. "They anticipate every move." Lyra smiled faintly. "They always underestimate us." That is their greatest mistake. The humans were not just fighting, they were guiding the Empire into a trap. Every movement the fleet made played into human hands. The Empire's largest cruisers were funneled into narrow passages where hidden cannons fired from multiple angles. Shields faltered, engines sputtered, and all the while human fighters moved like shadows, unseen but everywhere. In the chaos, Lyra activated a special device. It emitted a pulse that disabled the main systems of several Imperial ships. Engines failed, shields collapsed, and the fleet became disorganized. Kalen's fury reached its peak. Regain formation, fire everything, destroy the humans. But the humans were already gone from the Empire's sensors. They had vanished into the shadows, leaving false signals and decoys behind. The Empire fired blindly, wasting energy and ammunition, striking empty space. Yarrick watched the screens and grinned. They can't touch us when we control the battlefield. Lyra's eyes gleamed. This is only the beginning. Wait until Phase 2. Phase 2 began as the Empire tried to regroup. Humans launched precise counterattacks, targeting critical ships and command centers. Small, agile fighters darted between larger vessels, planting devices that disrupted communication and navigation. One cruiser attempted to pursue, only to be led into a minefield that crippled its engines. The Empire's fleet was massive, but humans had turned their size into a disadvantage. The larger the ship, the easier it was to manipulate, the easier it was to trap. Every mistake the Empire made cost them more ships and morale. Kalen's hands trembled slightly as he gave new orders. All units, focus on the central human base. Destroy it, or the entire fleet will be lost. But the humans had anticipated this. Lyra had prepared the battlefield so that the Empire's main force would be vulnerable. Hidden energy nets, mines, and synchronized attacks created a gauntlet. Ships that moved too fast were stopped by energy barriers. Ships that moved too slow were picked off by human fighters. It was a perfect balance of offense and defense. One Imperial ship, the Titan's Wrath, advanced too quickly. A hidden device emitted a pulse that disabled its systems entirely. It drifted helplessly as human fighters circled, firing precision strikes. Kalen could do nothing but watch. "Sir," an officer said quietly, "they control the fight. Every move we make, they are one step ahead." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Then we adapt faster. We will strike harder. We cannot fail." But even as he spoke, the humans executed Phase 3, a maneuver that forced the Empire into a narrow asteroid corridor, surrounded on all sides. Hidden human cannons fired in perfect coordination, striking at weak points in the fleet. Explosions lit up the darkness, sending debris tumbling through space. The Empire's pride was shattered. Their fleet, once invincible, was struggling to survive. Ships were destroyed, crews panicked, and the command structure faltered. Kalen realized, with a sinking feeling, that humans were not just surviving. They were winning. Lyra watched the chaos unfold, her voice calm over the comms. "This is the turning point. They thought power alone could conquer us. They were wrong. Humans fight with strategy, intelligence, and courage. And that makes us unstoppable." The Empire's retreat began not because of a lack of ships, but because of strategy. Kalen realized the humans had made him fight on their terms, in a battlefield he could not control. Every decision he made was anticipated and countered. Every move played into human hands. In the shadows of the asteroid corridor, humans celebrated quietly. They had survived, they had won the day, and they had shown the Empire the strength of human ingenuity. The battlefield was theirs not because of power, but because of brains, courage, and adaptability. Kalen's face was pale with fury and disbelief. This cannot be. How can a primitive race defeat a fleet this large? Lyra's voice echoed softly in her comms. Primitive? No. Humans are survivors. Humans are clever. And humans are not to be underestimated. The Empire had come to human space thinking it would conquer. Instead, it had been trapped, humiliated, and forced to retreat. The turning point had been reached, not through firepower but through intelligence and strategy. As the Imperial fleet limped away, Lyra and her team regrouped. Ships were damaged, but the humans had gained the advantage. They had shown the galaxy a truth no empire could ignore. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of turning even the most overwhelming force into a trap. The battle in the shadows was over, but the war was far from done. Humans had survived, and they had done more. They had changed the rules of engagement. Kalen knew the Empire would return, larger and stronger. But one thought haunted him. No matter how many ships he commanded, no matter how advanced their weapons, humans would always fight on their terms. And in human space, that was a fact no empire could ignore. The galaxy had warned the Empire, never enter human space. Now they were learning why through loss, humiliation, and the cunning of a species that refused to be conquered. The stars were silent witnesses to the final act. The Empire, battered and humiliated, had regrouped in the void of human space. Admiral Kalen's pride was wounded, but his anger burned brighter than ever. He had underestimated humans before, and now he would finish what he started. "Prepare for the full assault," Kalen commanded. "Every ship, every weapon, every device we have. Leave nothing alive. The humans will pay for their defiance." Officers around him exchanged nervous glances. The humans had survived every trap, every strike, every tactic. How could they possibly succeed against the might of the Empire? Kalen refused to consider that humans might be more than they appeared. He could not. Far from the approaching fleet, Captain Lyra Dune surveyed the sensors aboard the Hawkeye. The Empire was coming massive, organized, and furious. But humans were ready. "Yarrick," she said, voice calm but determined. "This is it. Every plan, every trap, every device we've prepared, now we use them. It's time to show the Empire what humanity is capable of." Yarrick nodded. "All units in position. We fight as one. No mistakes." The human strategy was clear. The Empire had power, but humans had intelligence, creativity, and the ability to adapt faster than any machine. They had studied every Imperial movement, every pattern, every arrogance that led the fleet to underestimate them. The first Imperial ships crossed into human territory. Massive cruisers fired upon hidden bases, expecting resistance, but finding only shadows. Mines detonated in precise sequences, energy nets immobilized entire squadrons, and decoys misled the fleet at every turn. The humans were not fighting to destroy yet. They were fighting to control, to manipulate, to turn the Empire's strength against itself. Kalen's rage was visible on every holoscreen. Target everything. Fire on anything that moves. But the humans were gone. They had vanished into asteroid belts, nebula clouds, and shadowed debris fields. The Empire's weapons struck empty space, wasting energy and patience. Lyra activated the final phase of their plan, a device from human history, a long-forgotten invention designed to exploit the Empire's reliance on technology. It sent out a wave of energy that disrupted engines, shields, and communications across the Imperial fleet. One by one, the massive ships faltered, drifting helplessly in the void. "Now," Lyra whispered. The human fighters struck with precision. Small, agile ships darted through the gaps, targeting the weakened cruisers and command ships. Explosions lit the darkness, sending debris tumbling across the battlefield. The Empire was powerful, but in human space, power alone could not win. Kalen's face went pale as he watched his fleet crumble. Ships collided, weapons failed, and confusion spread like wildfire. "Impossible," he roared. "How can this be? We are the Empire." "They underestimated us," Yarrick said quietly. "That is the human advantage. They fight with intelligence, with courage, and with unpredictability." Lyra's team moved quickly to neutralize the command ships. Energy nets immobilized the Dominion's smaller escorts, while hidden cannons disabled critical systems on the larger vessels. The Empire's pride, their belief in power over strategy, had become their greatest weakness. Kalen tried to issue orders, but communication lines were down. The humans had disrupted their systems completely. Every attempt to coordinate failed. The fleet, once a river of destruction, was now a maze of drifting ships and burning wreckage. Lyra watched as the final stage unfolded. "Hold formation," she said. "We finish this carefully. Strike only when victory is certain." The human fighters executed coordinated attacks, targeting the remaining Imperial command centers. Explosions lit the void like distant supernovae, and the Empire's remaining ships began to retreat in disorder. Kalen realized the truth: humans were not just surviving. Humans were winning. The retreat was chaotic. Imperial vessels fired blindly, trying to salvage Pride, but the humans controlled the battlefield entirely. Every escape route was monitored, every trap anticipated. The Empire had been forced to abandon its offensive, humiliated and broken. Lyra's eyes reflected the light of distant stars. "They have learned the first lesson of human space," she said softly. "Never underestimate us. Never enter our territory uninvited." The surviving Imperial ships limped away, battered and demoralized. Kalen's face was hard and furious, but deep down, he knew the truth. The humans had fought with courage, intelligence, and resilience. They had turned every advantage the Empire held against them. In the silence that followed the battle, human ships regrouped. Repairs began, systems were restored, and the survivors celebrated quietly. They had not only survived, they had triumphed against the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Lyra stood on the bridge of the Hawkeye, looking out at the stars. "This is just the beginning," she said. "The galaxy will remember today. The Empire has been warned. Human space is ours, and anyone who dares challenge us will face the same fate." Yarrick placed a hand on her shoulder. "They will think twice before returning. Humans have shown their strength." "Yes," Lyra replied, voice firm. "But strength is more than weapons. It is courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. That is what makes humans unstoppable." Far away, in the remnants of the Imperial fleet, Kalen sent a message to the core worlds. It was short and full of bitter truth. Human space is not to be conquered. Humans are not to be underestimated. The galaxy had warned the Empire, but they had ignored it. Now they had learned, through defeat and humiliation, that humans were a force unlike any other. A species that could adapt, survive, and strike back with precision. Lyra looked at the stars, her crew around her. The humans had won, not with sheer numbers, not with overwhelming firepower, but with brains, courage, and strategy. The victory was theirs, and it sent a message across the galaxy. Never enter human space. Never underestimate humans. The Empire had arrived boldly, confident in their strength. They had expected victory. Instead, they had met resistance, ingenuity, and courage beyond imagination. And humanity had prevailed. In the quiet aftermath, as the stars sparkled above, humans prepared for the future. The galaxy now knew the truth. Humans were not to be trifled with. Humans were survivors. Humans were cunning. And humans were unstoppable. The war was far from over, but the first chapter of human triumph had been written in fire, courage, and strategy. And the Empire, now humbled, would never forget the lessons learned in human space. The galaxy had been warned.